This story right on kindness. It was just past 10 p.m. when Emily pulled her old minivan into the dimly lit gas station on the edge of town. The night was quiet, except for the low hum of the fluorescent lights above and the occasional car passing along the highway. Emily's two children, Lily, 6, and Jacob, 9, were dozing off in the back seat, their heads resting against worn pillows. Emily was exhausted. Between her two jobs, awaiting tables during the day and cleaning offices at night, life felt like a marathon she could never finish. Her minivan's gas gauge hovered dangerously close to empty, and with only $12 in her wallet, she could barely afford to fill half the tank. She pulled up to pump number 4, unbuckled her seatbelt, and stepped out into the cool night air. Her cardigan was no match for the chilly breeze, and she pulled it tighter around herself as she slid her debit card into the reader. The card was declined. She frowned, tried again, but the same red letters flashed on the small screen: transaction denied. With a sigh, she fumbled for the few crumpled bills in her wallet and walked toward the convenience store. She barely noticed the black SUV that had rolled into the lot behind her or the 3 men inside it, watching. Inside, she handed her $12 to the cashier. "Pump 4, she said quietly. The young clerk gave her a sympathetic smile. He probably saw people scraping by like this every night. When Emily stepped back outside, the 3 men were already leaning against their SUV. Tattoos snaked up their arms, their laughter was loud and coarse, and their eyes locked on her like predators. "Hey, sweetheart," one of them called out, his voice dripping with mockery. "Need a hand pumping that gas?" Emily quickened her pace, clutching her arms around herself. "No, thanks." Another man whistled. "Come on, don't be rude. We're just trying to help." They moved closer. One of them circled toward her van, peering into the back window where Lily and Jacob slept. Emily's heart dropped into her stomach. "Stay away from my kids," she snapped, panic rising in her throat. The men only laughed. One stepped close enough that she could smell the alcohol on his breath. "Relax, sweetheart. We just want some company. You look lonely." He reached out, brushing his fingers against her sleeve. Emily jerked back, fear tightening her chest. She scanned the lot for anyone who might help, but it was nearly deserted. The clerk inside hadn't even noticed. Then came a sound, a deep, rumbling growl that cut through the tension like a blade. Motorcycles. From the highway, a line of headlights appeared, a half a dozen, maybe more. The bikes thundered into the gas station, engines roaring, chrome gleaming under the fluorescent lights. They weren't just random bikers. They wore leather vests with the same patch stitched on the back, Iron Guardians. The thugs froze, their bravado faltering as the bikers circled into the lot and parked their machines in a perfect line. They dismounted almost in unison, a big, burly man with long beards, tattoos, and heavy boots. To Emily, they looked just as intimidating as the thugs, at least until one of them, a tall man with steel gray hair and kind eyes, spoke. "You boys got a problem here?" His voice was steady, calm, but carried an edge of warning. The thug who had touched Emily laughed nervously. "Nah, man, we were just talking." "No problem." The biker took a step forward, towering over him. "Didn't look like talking to me, looked like harassment." Another biker, broad-shouldered with a scar down his cheek, chimed in. "We don't take kindly to men scaring women, especially with kids around." The thugs shifted uneasily. The leader muttered, "Hey, we don't want trouble." "Then get in your SUV and drive away," the gray-haired biker said flatly. For a tense moment, the lot was silent except for the ticking of cooling motorcycle engines. The thugs exchanged glances, weighing their odds, but the bikers outnumbered them, and the iron in their voices left no room for challenge. Finally, the thugs muttered curses under their breath, climbed into their SUV, and peeled out of the lot, tires screeching. Emily stood frozen, her hands trembling. Relief flooded her body, but tears welled in her eyes. She hadn't realized how terrified she was until now. The gray-haired biker turned to her, his expression softening. "You okay, ma'am?" She nodded, though her voice shook when she spoke. "Yes, a broken bar, thank you." "Yeah, I didn't know what to do." He glanced at her van, then back at her. "Those your kids?" She swallowed. "Yes, they're all I have." The biker exchanged a look with his crew, and something unspoken passed between them. Then he said, "Don't worry, We'll stick around until you're done here. Nobody's gonna bother you again tonight." Emily's tears spilled over. She quickly wiped them away, embarrassed. "You didn't have to do that. I don't even know you." One of the bikers, a younger man with a rough beard, smiled gently. "Ma'am, you don't have to know us. We look out for people who need it. That's just what we do." As Emily filled her tank with the precious $12 of gas, the bikers formed a loose circle around the van, chatting casually but keeping watch. Their presence was like a wall of solid, immovable, protective. For the first time in a long while, Emily felt safe. When she was finished, she thanked them again. "I don't know how to repay you." The gray-haired biker shook his head. "You don't owe us a thing. Just take care of those kids. That's what matters." Emily hesitated, then asked, "Why a broken bar? Why do you help strangers like me?" The biker's eyes softened. "Because once, someone helped us. Long time ago. This club was nothing but trouble. Then one day, a man showed us kindness we didn't deserve. Changed everything. Now we pay it forward." His words struck her deeply. She whispered, "Thank you, from the bottom of my heart." Before they left, one of the bikers handed her a card. On it was a simple message: Iron Guardians Motorcycle Club, a brotherhood, honor, protection. A phone number was printed below. "If you're ever in trouble again, call us," the biker said. Emily clutched the card like it was gold. That night, after she tucked Lily and Jacob into their beds, she sat on the edge of her own and let herself cry. Not from fear this time, but from gratitude. For once, the world hadn't been cruel. For once, someone had stood up for her when she had no one else. The memory of the thugs' mocking laughter still haunted her. But stronger than that was the memory of the roar of motorcycles, the sight of leather vests, and the steady voices of men who refused to let injustice slide. Days turned into weeks, and Emily went back to her routine of working, saving every penny, and raising her children as best she could. But she carried the night in her heart like a secret flame. Whenever she felt overwhelmed or alone, she remembered the Iron Guardians. One evening, about a month later, Emily was leaving work when she noticed a young waitress crying outside the diner. A group of rowdy men were heckling her near the parking lot, their laughter cruel and loud. Emily froze for a moment, fear sparking in her chest. But then she thought of the bikers, of the way they had stood for her without hesitation. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone and dialed the number on the card. 15 minutes later, the rumble of motorcycles filled the night again. The men scattered before the bikers even dismounted. Emily watched as the waitress was comforted and protected, just as she had been. One of the guardians approached Emily and nodded. "You did the right thing, calling us." For the first time in a long while, Emily smiled with confidence. Maybe she couldn't change the whole world, but with allies like Thessie, men who believed in honor, who lived to protect the vulnerable, maybe she and her children weren't as alone as she thought. From that night on, whenever she passed the sound of motorcycles on the highway, Emily didn't feel fear. She felt hope, because she knew that somewhere out there, the Iron Guardians were still riding, still watching, still protecting. And to her, they weren't just bikers. They were angels on wheels.